they always talk about God opening doors, but he was like, he was closing doors.
Hey guys, this is Hope Said It back with another Hope Said It Uncut video for you. And today I'm excited about our conversation because I have a stay-at-home mom, but she's not your typical Little House on the Prairie stay-at-home mom. She's really relatable and she really never thought she would be a stay-at-home mom. And I think that will help and encourage a lot of you who are watching. So I want to introduce Destiny Jones to the studio today. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Hello, audience of Hope Said It.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I just want to get into more of who you are because basically I know you considered yourself to be an independent woman. So how did you go from independent woman to being a stay-at-home mom of two boys?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was, yeah, it took a while.
I
It took
bet.
a while. Just from going from an independent woman, and I guess, well, just to define for me what an independent woman was, initially, shoot, before I got married, and even when I got married, an independent woman was a woman who could financially take care of herself. And like that was bottom line. Like if I could financially, support myself, then I was good in every other area. And yeah, so I went from being an independent woman, a career girl, working girl, not that type of working girl, y'all, but y'all know what it is. A working girl in education. I taught for 8 years. My husband and I, we started a business when I was, I think, 6 months pregnant with my first son. And I mean, he had a really good paying job, good benefits, and he was just like, I want to quit my job. And I'm like, well, come again? You want to quit your job? Try to be that supportive wife. Like, okay, let's talk about this. Yeah, he wanted to quit his job and he wanted to start a trucking company. And although it was very, I would say stressful for me, him also, but stressful for me being that I was so far along, but still trying to be supportive of him. And one thing I know about my husband is he's not a lazy man. So if he got to work two jobs at McDonald's, one at Subway and Chick-fil-A on Sundays, and I know Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays, but he would have been there. I knew that he was going to make sure we had what we needed to have. So, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we poured all of our savings into, our trucking company. It's called Crossway Express, named after our first son. And I continue to teach and had my son in 2019. And my husband's like, I think you should stay home. And I'm like, well, no, I don't think I should do that. Like, he's like, well, I think that'll be good. You'll be at home with Cross. And I'm like, no, let's start looking at daycares. So we started vetting daycares when I was, probably when I was like 3 or 4 months. We started vetting like in-home cares and found one that we really loved. And I would say towards the end of my pregnancy, my mother-in-law asked if she could stay home with Cross. And it was like, okay, that sounds really good. So she kept him for the first 18 months. And during that time, it was amazing because she would come over to our house to keep him. So we just got up, went to work, and, he was here with somebody we knew who would take good care of him. Now fast forward to,
Okay, hold on.
yeah,
So to unpack, you had to unpack, you both were working. Your husband and you were working. And then your
yeah.
husband said, hey, I think I'm going to start this business. Let's do this. And so you're still teaching. What was he doing before he stopped and became an entrepreneur full time? What
He
was his job?
he worked at a place called Solar Turbines, and so they made like really big turbines for huge companies. So this is best as I can explain it. He was a technician there. So,
Well,
I
I just want to
mean,
be clear because I think a lot of the times it's easy to make the decision if someone's making like $12 an hour and you're like, whatever. But this is an
right.
established family with good benefits, and they decided to go all
Yes.
in full time as an entrepreneur. So you have your first child, your mother-in-law gratefully and graciously
Right.
was able to watch your child. So how did you go? And I know you're about to talk about this. So how did you go from, okay, she's watching him and I'm still working and he's doing the business to, you know what? I'm going to watch my kids.
Well, that was a hard decision. I know some people think like now when I tell them I stay at home, they're like, "Oh, okay, girl. Yes, I'm trying to be like you." And it's like, I was trying to be like you,
It's
girl.
not easy.
So it's not at all. But that just I like to think that I work off of obedience. And even
Mm.
though at that time we had the means to, for me to stay home, like, we started a business, and when I say God blessed us, like the business popped. Like financially, we were doing
Wow.
well, but I still felt like I told you, I don't feel like God is calling me home. That's what I kept on saying.
Mm.
Like I don't feel like God is calling me home. Like I really enjoy teaching. Even throughout the pandemic, I enjoyed teaching from my house, and that was a blessing because I was able to during that time be at home with Cross, and
Exactly.
so that was a blessing for me also. But fast forward to 2022, we had our second son, Kari, and I had I literally worked I worked the whole school year. So I
Mm.
had him literally maybe a week after school got out.
Wow.
So I had just got a new promotion, a new position. I wasn't going to be in the classroom, but I was still going to be in the classroom. So I was going to be dyslexia specialist. So I would have small groups of
Oh,
students.
nice.
And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool. Because by this time I was kind of tired of being like just in the classroom full time. So I got a new position. I was excited about that. And so just, figuring out, I'm going to have my son. I need to find childcare for him. And, I'm going to start this new position. I was ready for it. Jaren brought up the idea again, maybe you should, stay home with Kari. And I'm like,
Mm.
I just got this new position. Like, why would God let me get this position? I got all my supplies. Like, I'm ready. I have a mentor for that position. Like,
Wow.
why would God allow me, to get this position? I'm excited for it. And so we had Kari at the end of May. We were looking for childcare, and Darren was just like, maybe you should, just think about it.
Hey,
Just
how
think
many
about it,
times is
because
he gonna tell you? Let's try it again. He's a
just
gentle
think
husband,
about
though. That's
it.
good.
And I'm like, I'm thinking about it. Mind you, business is good. Our goal was to add a truck each year of business, and we've done that. We've been in business almost 4 years.
Oh my
So we've
goodness.
added a
Congratulations.
truck each year, so we have 3 trucks. So I'm like,
Mm.
business is really good. Um, but I'm not looking at, the financial part of it, because I feel
Right.
like just because we're able to do it doesn't mean that God is calling us to do it right now. And Cross,
Very
he
true.
is in school. He loves school. So it's not like, oh, we pulling Cross out of school and I'm going to be homeschooling.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that, because that's what people were thinking. They were like, oh my God, girl, you homeschooling? I'm like, no, I didn't sign up for that. That's not where I'm at just yet. But
Hmm.
I was like, okay, let me pray about it. So I was
Hmm.
praying about it, just asking God, like, God, you allowed me to get this new position that I'm excited about. But after I had Kari, I was, of course, very excited to be a quote unquote new mom again.
Of
And
course.
I was just trying to, weigh that out. And I talked to our marriage mentors, Miss Tony, she's amazing. She went from being a working girl to a stay
Mm.
at home mom with her kids. And she just told me that the benefits of, and she was a professor, and she just told me that the benefits of being at home with her kids during those years really
Hmm.
outweighed her being at work. So she was
Wow.
like, just think about that. Just think about how you can pour into your kids. And so I was like, okay. So I praised the God, and God made it so difficult for us to find childcare. Like,
Hmm.
we were willing to pay top dollar to whoever. And Jaren was just uneasy with the choices. I started to become uneasy with, with the lack.
Right.
And it just kind of, that was the answer.
Those
Like,
closed
you
doors.
got to stay home. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, look, they always talk about God opening doors, but he was like, uh, he was closing doors. And so I made that decision. I sent the email to the head of the department of my new position that I got, and she was so excited. Like, she was so
Oh,
excited for me, and
that's so good.
yeah, she was so excited. I met up with her, and she was like, "Look, I'm telling you, these are the pivotal years for you to be at home with your children." She was like, if I could have done it, I would have did that. Like, stay
Wow.
at home with your kids, and whenever you're ready to come back, come back. She said, if you don't decide to come back, then you don't. And so that's
Wow.
kind of how that was. Like, it just kind of, after I got over like what I felt I should be doing, and how I felt,
Absolutely.
this is not what I, not necessarily signed up for, but this is not how I saw my life. Like, I
For
never
sure.
desired to get married or have kids, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm about to be at home with kids.
So explain to me the importance of, because I didn't know you had a mentor for this. So explain to me the importance of having that mentor to kind of help shape you and help hear the voice of God in what you're doing.
Oh my goodness. So we've been with these mentors for about, oh Lord, for about 6 years now. They've been our marriage
Wow.
mentors. Yeah, so they've mentored us at various steps in our marriage. Um, and I would say it has been very important and pivotal for me to have her as a mentor. For one, she understands how I was raised, as far as,
Mm-hmm.
even though my mom was married, well, is married, even though my mom is married, she still raised me to be independent, and
Mm-hmm.
independent to a fault, I feel at times, because I still, in my marriage, grasp for that independence, and it looks
Right,
different. It looks
right,
different for
right.
everybody else, but with me, I was like hardcore. I was on the other section of being independent. So she helped me really like hone in on that. Like, why? What are you going to be missing if you stay
Yeah,
at home with your kids?
yeah.
What are you going to be missing? Because she's also in the education field. So
Hmm.
she was like, what are you going to be missing? And I had to take a step back, because I spent a lot of my time pouring into other people's children, and
Mm.
being mother. Like, I used to tell my kids, when you at school with me, I'm your mama, your daddy, I'm the lunch lady. Like, whoever you need me to be, that's who I am. Like, and so it's like, how can I do that for somebody else's child or children,
And not anymore.
and not have that desire to do that for
Exactly.
my kids.
Mhm.
So having her
So
as a
then what
mentor helped me like them.
No, what is some of the perks? I know you mentioned like, hey, what are you missing? So what has helped you from going to independent to having, being stay at home? What perks did you see or do you see in doing that?
Oh, I want a big part that I really enjoy was going to all of Cross's things at his school. Like,
Mhm.
everything that he was having, like, I didn't realize they had so much stuff, because when I was working, I couldn't come. Like, I was always that parent, like, hey, I knew that I couldn't come, so I overcompensated financially. Like, if his class needed
Okay.
something, I will buy, I'm buying stuff for the class. If his sister
Yeah.
needed something, supplies, that's what I'm doing, because I'm also an educator. So I know, and I experienced that from parents who didn't get to come, and just cross having that expectation. Like, it went from him being, Mama, are you gonna come? To him being like, okay, Mama, I'll see you later. Like, he knew I was coming,
See you at
and
one.
like, yeah, okay, see you at 1 o'clock. And literally, if I would get there at like 1:10, he will be looking around like,
Oh
and mouthing
wow.
to himself, "Where's my
Oh
mom?
wow.
Where's
Are
my
you
mom?" So,
serious? Oh no, that's
girl,
heartbreaking.
he was
And
on he was
cute.
on
Like,
stage at chapel. He was on stage at chapel, mouthing, "Where's my mom?" If you don't sing "This
oh
Little Light of
my
Mine,"
God.
but yeah, just
That's
for him to
awesome
have the
though.
expectation
Hmm.
of, I know my mom's gonna be here. I didn't realize that how many other kids, their parents were able to be there with their professions because their professions allowed them to take off work and go, or they were remote half the time. Me being a teacher, I couldn't take off like that. But I was always there for my students as their surrogate parent at different things that we had. So I was always there for them. So just to be on that other side and him to have that expectation, like I was like, wow, I really enjoy this. Now I can't see myself missing anything that he's having at school.
So then speaking of that being a major perk and very important, then what would you see, if any, that's a con that you're like, you know what, I really do miss this though?
I'm trying to think, what do I miss about being in education?
Or just being working, like maybe not being at home 24/7.
Yeah, I will. It's really hard for me to pick out like
Wow.
what I miss because of, and I'm saying specifically for education because education has changed so much, and I'm still really good friends with my friends who I had in education, and I still talk to them. We still have our group messages, and they still tell me about their struggles that they're going through. And some of them are new moms, and they're trying to figure out how in the world do I balance having a baby and balance, being at work. And even some of them are trying to figure out how can we live off of one income so that I can be at home with my child. But I don't know if it's anything per se that I miss because I
Mm-hmm.
have in the beginning. Okay, in the beginning, one thing I did miss having that title.
Do you think your identity was in your career?
Oh, most definitely. A lot of it was.
Mhm.
Like a lot of my identity was in my career because I would find myself when talking to people, and I mean, I guess that's just a grown up thing to do when you introduce
For
yourself.
sure.
You say what you do, or somebody may ask, "What do you do?" And I call myself a lot of times not lying on purpose, but that's just what I was. I had been teaching for so long. It's like oh, I'm an educator, and as of late, and I would say as of COVID, parents, people have a better appreciation for educators. So when they hear educator,
Absolutely.
they're like, "Oh my goodness, bless you!" Like that is so amazing that you're a
You can still
teacher,
say you're an educator because you are, just to a smaller crowd.
right?
It's fine.
Right. But that was I think that was something that I missed in the beginning, and just being busy all the time, like being busy, like I've realized now that I had no idea how to rest. Like no idea. Like even when like within the first month, I was already updating my resume. The first month of me being home, I was updating
My
my
goodness.
resume. I started
Where are you
following
going?
this woman. Right. I was following this woman on YouTube who posted remote jobs. I was applying for jobs. I had got a profile on LinkedIn. Jaren was like, "What are you doing?"
Hello.
I was like, I was like, I need a job. Like, I feel like I just need to be doing something. Like, if I could, a lot of jobs are remote. I could be at home with the baby and I could just be remote. And he was like, well, I'm not asking you to do that. He was like, if that's what you want to do, you can do that, but I'm not asking you to do that. But it was just something in me like, I have to work. I have to be doing something um, other than just sitting at home.
That was a sermon, I believe, and they were just saying, "Hey, take the blessing of rest because everything is a season. So take the
Hmm.
blessing of rest. Sometimes we get so caught in busyness, and I got to do this. Oh, I'm so busy. My schedule's so packed. That's not a good thing. So sit down and enjoy your rest.
People being busy, they use it as a flex. Like, oh, I have so much on
Absolutely,
my schedule.
absolutely.
And it's like, oh, you're so tired.
Right. I don't want your bags, ma'am. I'm good.
Right,
This is
right.
true. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what are some things people don't know about stay-at-home mother? Like, what did you perceive it to be, and then now the reality of what you see a stay-at-home mom being?
Well, not literally, but figuratively, somebody who was barefoot and pregnant at home and
Absolutely.
really wasn't, really couldn't contribute to the house. Not that she
Hmm.
couldn't physically contribute, but she didn't have a voice with her husband because, you know, he was making the money. So she really didn't know about that stuff over
Right.
there. And she just took care of this stuff over here. And that's what I thought it was. And I think for me, being how I am, like I struggle with it because in my marriage, I've always voiced. And I'm thinking like, okay, if I'm coming home, does that, you know, like Ariel in The Little Mermaid, you know, your voice is being taken away. Like, do I no longer have a voice? Um, but one of somebody they told me they was like, you know, have you talked about expectations? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, you know, expectations like what does your husband expect from
For
you
sure.
now that you're home and what do you expect from him? Because they didn't like being a stay at home mom. They didn't like it. She was like, you know, just talk about expectations. And I'm like, okay. And we talked about expectations and I just asked Darren, you know, since I'm gonna be staying home now, what do you expect from me? Um, and he was like, you know, Des, to be honest with you, I want you to find you again. I want you to figure out what you like. I still know that I'm an educator and I apply that
Absolutely.
to our daily schedules and our routines that we do.
What would you say the biggest thing that had to die inside of you? The independence. What had to die? What trait? Good trait. You know, like it's a good thing that it died, but what had to die
Right.
inside of you for you to become a stay-at-home mom?
Ooh. I, all of me now.
Just on the floor.
Okay, well, now I feel like the biggest part, like me when I said in the beginning, when I thought of like an independent woman, it was, you know, finances. With me, that's something that I control. If I work more hours, I know I'm gonna make more money. If
Right.
I work less hours, I'm gonna make less money. You know,
Right.
I know when I can take my vacation. Real, you know, that was me. That was the independent part of me. That part had
Right.
to die because not having to do with the finances because God covered us in that area. So it's like you're covered in the area. So where's your independence now? You know,
Wow.
thank God, you know, you are covered in that area, you know, but how are you going to, you know, give more of yourself? Well, what are you gonna do? And
Wow.
and I told my friends this, like I feel like for me being at home and this was at the very beginning and I felt God tugging on my heart about this, but you know, you be God, I don't want to hear that right now. Like, stop. I don't want to hear that. But I feel like a big reason why he has me at home right now is so that I could be a prayer warrior for my family and for my friends. And
Wow.
that's a big thing. Like, that is a huge thing. And my mentor, she is a prayer warrior. Like, so serious. Like, I tell her all the time, look, I contact you when stuff going down because I know your prayers go past the ceiling. Like they go all the way up. But that's what I feel like God has he wants me to take the time to intentionally pray for my family, pray for my friends. And so what I've been doing, I've been sending voice memos because I'm not a huge texter. Call me old school, but I like to hear voices and hear tones. You know, like
Okay.
my friends, they joke about like, you know, this missing a voice note in a minute. I will because it's only so many, you know, dissertations and paragraphs I can type before I
Right.
just be like,
Right.
my fingers hurt. So I'll send them a voice note and, you know, just say, hey, you know, is there anything you need me to pray for you about? I've been intentional about writing it down because I'm like, you know, when you tell somebody, oh, yeah, I'm going to pray for you.
You say that was the prayer. I get
That was the
it.
prayer. So you be like, I'm going to pray for you. Amen. That was the
That's it.
prayer. That was it.
God knows
You
all.
don't revisit it or nothing.
How does one become a prayer warrior, do you feel, especially with the help of your mentor? What if for someone listening, like, how I want to become a prayer warrior too? How do you do that?
Oh Lord. How do you become a prayer warrior? Look,
Like
y'all,
just,
I'm in the beginning stages. I'm in the beginning stages of prayer warrior, or prayer warriorism, whatever you call it. I'm in the very beginning, y'all. I'm prayer warrior 101. Okay. That's the
and
class
that's
I'm
what
in.
everybody else will be too. So help them along is fine.
But I would say you can pray anywhere. In the car, in the shower, being a mom, wherever I have quiet time. So wherever I can get that, that's when I'm praying. But also too, I've been listening. I have this app. It's called Pray. It's pray.com. What's the Pray app? And
Hmm.
that, when I tell you, that has been helping me a lot. Like, it'll remind you, but it'll have somebody on there praying. Um,
Yeah.
and it'll do also do the it's a audible Bible in the year story that goes with each prayer,
Yeah.
and to just hear about how God helped David, helped the Hebrew boys, like just to hear things like I can do generic prayer, I can do
For
a
sure.
generic prayer, but it's like when you know what God has done in the past and he still has the power to do it in the present. And my friends, they have that same trust and vulnerability with me. And I feel like, shoot, that is a big weight to carry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a good weight to know that other
Hmm.
people, they not just coming to you asking you, oh, let me borrow $20. Let me come stay with you. But they're
Yeah.
like, I know that she's going to pray for me. And they trust that
Mm.
my prayers are going to go straight up to Jesus.
Mm.
So I
That's
feel
good.
like that has really been a blessing to me.
I mean, you've been very relatable. Like I said, I think a lot of the times, if you even YouTube stay at home mom, you'll see like the same kind of person, wearing the same kind of thing, maybe with a head wrap and this and that, bacon bread. But you're just a different type of stay at home mom. And I love it because it's more relatable.
Right,
It's what I feel people will see and be like, you know what, hold on, I could do it too. I could still be myself and do it. Would
right.
you ever go back to being a career woman, or you think this is it for you?
I don't know. I don't know if
Mm.
I ever go back to being a career woman. Or I don't know if I'll go back to being in education. I'm not sure
Mm.
about that because we do plan on
Yeah.
having a couple of more kids. So me being at home with them, um, me being at home with Kari and Cross during the summer now, I couldn't see myself going back to work and having little kids. Like I couldn't
Mm.
see that. And I feel
Right.
like Jaren and I, we are in a position financially, thank God, that we can, say that for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that I know because he says it all the time, that that's where he, enjoys me being right now at the house.
Right.
Like,
Right.
not at the house, but y'all get what I'm saying. Me being at home with our boys, I mean, because he sees the benefits.
Of
And
course. Of course.
and with Cross going to school, he'll be going to a secular school next year. So me teaching in public schools, I know some of the things that he's going to come up against in regards to education and what he's being introduced to. And it's like now that I'm at home, I have the time and I can be intentional with him. As far as hey, what are you learning? Not worried about, lesson plans and what I have to teach my kids at school, but I can be intentional, ask for his teachers, hey, could you send me your lesson plans? Or, could you let me know what y'all are going over? Different things like that, because I need to know what y'all teaching him. I need to figure out what I have to undo, because me being in education, there were some things that I didn't feel comfortable introducing to children.
How did you go from wanting zero kids to now you trying to have a whole basketball team? That's all.
Right.
What happened inside of you for that to happen?
Okay. Well, look, okay with that. And literally, y'all, when I say I never wanted to have kids, I never desired to get married. Our marriage was in a very healthy place. Like we were in a
Mm.
very healthy place. And if I ever had kids, I wanted them to be born into a loving family, like
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to just be married for me. It wasn't
Hmm.
enough to, have a husband and wife, because there's
For
plenty of
sure.
people walking around, with emotional scars that came from two parent homes.
Absolutely.
So that wasn't
Absolutely.
it. But we got to a really great place after having our first son, just to see how Darren was with him. It was amazing. Like, he's giving our boys everything that he didn't have. Like, he's super loving. Like, I mean, it's amazing to see how he is with them, just from Cross being at a Christian school and him just enjoying the word. Like, Cross, he enjoys the word of God. He loves Jesus. Like, he knows how to pray. I mean, we may pray about a teddy bear every night, but he knows how to pray. But just to see him, and I'm like, we need more little kids like this. Not that I gotta have all of them, but
Listen,
I
apparently
wouldn't.
do.
But like just to produce God fearing kids who are unashamed to talk about the word of God because they can go to every part of the world. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, some people might think that's super spiritual, but me having children now, that's my different outlook on it.
At least you're teaching people that with the right relationship, with a loving relationship, with a Christ-centered relationship, and, with the right partner, then things can change and that can change your mind as well, because, I mean, you're going to have different seasons. There's a season to do everything, and right now is your season to stay at home, and you're doing it great. And hopefully your testimony can just help everybody else who may be struggling with it, maybe deciding to do it or trying to see what that would look like in their life as well. So I thank you so much for sharing your testimony. And any last words you have?
I just want to encourage any woman, just in any season that you are right now, just really listen to God. Like really listen to God, pray, and listen. Don't just pray, but listen. Have your quiet time and just listen to him because that was my struggle. Listening and being obedient. Okay, because we can listen and not be obedient, and that was me. Being an independent woman, trying to figure out ways, how can I make this work? I can really just pop this baby out and, find somebody and go to this new position, but God was closing all of those doors. So I would say, in whatever season that you're in, especially if your season is looking like mine, going from working to being a stay-at-home mom, just be obedient. God will cover you. Like he is so faithful. Like I'm telling you, he will cover you financially. He'll cover you emotionally, mentally, and redefine who you think you are.
Wow. Well, those are definitely words to live by. I hope it blessed somebody today. And once again, this is Hope Said It, Marriage. Wow, I can't even say it. Hope Said It, Marriage, Marriage Life. Follow me at Hope Said It. You can check out the blog post, hopesaidit.com. But either way, I'll have another video for you next week. Thank you so much, Destiny, for joining us. And we'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.